Hi, I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. I am going to tell you a little bit about some of the spring manipulations I do to optimize the rate at which my colonies grow during the spring. During the winter time, as we've shown, I will have them wrapped, and there will be, if necessary, extra food added into this space here. But in the spring, what that means is that the bees have moved up, and sometimes they are now clustering in that empty space, regardless of whether there's food in there or not. That's the one downside of having this rim at the upper part of the hive. And what I've found is that very often we've got so many bees clustering at the top of this hive that could otherwise be in the frames, keeping more frames warm, and therefore having the opportunity of growing more brood. In the spring, I may have chunks of food in there, blocks of sugar candy or that sort of thing, which doesn't allow me to take this rim out because there's physically not enough room up there to accommodate that and putting the cover down. It would leave open spaces around the sides. So what I needed to do is find a way around that. And I give credit to Ian Stepler, who does the Canadian Beekeepers blog, a fantastic resource for northern beekeepers if you're wanting to scale up. For this little gadget, this is just basically a bubble wrap, foil covered bubble wrap, which he uses as an inner cover. And it occurred to me of how I could make use of that to solve a problem up here, to sort of force the bees down from clustering in this empty space to have them continuing to cluster on the frames, where if they're clustering on the frames, they'll keep the frames warm. If they're keeping frames warm, the queen can now go in there and expand. So this is all, it's by no means essential, but I feel it's a good way of speeding up the rate at which the colony builds up in the spring. The other advantage of doing this is it prevents the bees from building comb up in this space as well. Bees hate empty space. And once some flow of nectar starts, or you start feeding with sugar syrup, they start building comb again. And what I don't want is them to build a lot of wasted space up here. I've learned from previous experience how important it is to get this rim off as early as possible, but given that I'm wanting to feed them at the same time, putting this on allows me to keep that rim on and gradually reduce the space that the bees are using inside there just for the food, and it minimizes the amount of comb that's built up there unnecessarily and wastefully. I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, at the hives in Corinth today, and I want to show you something of a method that I'm changing using my overwintering top, because I've identified something which I would like to work differently. If we look down here at the hive, I'm about to open this hive up. It's been overwintering very nicely. It's got a decent cluster of bees in here, but I want to show you something. These are this the insulation board, and this is the home soap board. And what I have here is the winter rim. There's an entrance here just above the second brood chamber. But what I'm finding in the spring is the bees are occupying this space just for clustering. And we're now in a stage where those same bees, if they were down on the frames, would be keeping a lot of brood space warm. So we're not getting as much brood buildup as I think we could do. I want to show you what's happening here. If I lift this up, all these bees, and this is only a fraction of what there has been, there's about an inch deep, more than that, of bees clustered on the top, where actually all they're going to do is build comb. And they should be down in the comb, and there's enough bees here to cover maybe 2 more frames. Whereas right now, from the top, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frames covered. I would say from underneath it looks like there'll be 2 or 3 frames here. But there's enough to cover another couple of frames with these bees alone. So the cluster is only about 2/3 the size that it could be if this space wasn't used like this. So what I'm going to do is something a little different. I'm going to knock these bees down. It's a warm enough day, those bees are going to find their way down into the combs. I'm going to pause this while I get my smoker lit, because I want to drive the bees down a bit further. Okay, we have the smoker lit. And I'm just going to drive the bees down a little further. First thing I'm going to do, give them a bit of pollen substitute. Pollen substitute I have here. It's not bad. I give them a bit more. This is dried out a bit, but I'm going to spread it out here. I don't want it too near the entrance. What I'm going to do now is take the foil inner cover. And this way, we're going to drive these much further down into the frames. Now there's half an inch gap in here. If anything, they've still got the ability to come in and out here. I'll just make sure that stays open. So still a way for bees to get in and out the top. They'll tend to now use the bottom entrance more. And we're ready to go. This way we've got more of the bees down in the deep super where I want them to be. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to check to see how many frames of bees are in here. See if I was right about how many bees were down at the bottom of the frames. I was reckoning 2 or perhaps 3. Well, there's certainly plenty of food in here. This super is heavy. No shortage of food. And bees are down about to 2 frames. About 2 frames of bees up here. It's a small cluster. Well, I hope you enjoyed that and found it helpful. I certainly know I will be posting more videos along those lines as I come up with different ideas. Maybe you can give me your feedback, see if you found it useful or not. If you have other ideas, I'd love to know. Maybe I'll make a video about it. If you like what you saw, please subscribe, press that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed it, give it the thumbs up. All that feedback helps me with making future videos. Thanks very much. I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.